Hello, welcome to Star Wars Spelt Out. I'm your host, Josh Chapman, and today we've got a returning guest over on the Skype. He wasn't actually on that long ago, but people can't get enough of this man. If he wasn't on enough podcasts as it was, you've got to get him when you get the chance. King Tom Chansky, how you going, my friend?
Oh, I'm flattered. You are way too kind, but I am well. Thank you once again for having me, and my apologies to your listeners who might be sick of me by this point. But thanks for listening.
I don't think that's possible. I'm sure they hear you on the Bad Motivators and the Sith List and Blue Harvest and Steel Wars and am I missing any? Here or there, Man About Town.
Those are pretty much the regular ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you still find new podcasts every now and then, or is it you kind of just absolutely wall to wall booked in now?
Occasionally I will. But mostly based off of recommendations from friends. I started listening to Around the Galaxy with Pete Fletzer.
Mm-hmm.
I did an interview with him last week.
Oh, so stay tuned.
Yeah. There was an X-Men podcast, and it just started up, but because I don't know if you follow the comic books at all, but X-Men had a major event over the summer, and it kind of relaunched the whole franchise, and there's a pretty good podcast that just started up a few weeks ago. Yeah, there are a few other Star Wars podcasts I've kind of gotten into recently. I mean, I want to say Force Toast, but I've been listening to them for about a year now. They're celebrating their 1-year anniversary.
Yep, shout out to the girls there.
Yeah, but for some reason they still feel new. I don't know why. But no, I have been listening to them, and there's I think Tumbling Saber is another one I started listening to, but I'm not here to
promote other people. It's funny you're just talking about the X-Men, the number one. I just read the Darth Vader number one yesterday, the new one.
Okay,
the third Darth Vader number one, or the fourth Darth Vader number one.
Yeah, it's
it's a comics trick. I've read comics forever, so I've seen the trick. Although the comic that I read the most as a kid, who you're probably not familiar with, is not very big in America, is The Phantom. I don't know if you're familiar with The Phantom. Billy Zane played The Phantom in the 90s movie.
I remember the movie, and he was more of a DC thing, right?
No, he was like King Features. He was like Syndicate. He was like Mandrake and all those guys. But he's he's very popular in Australia, and his comic has been running since I want to say the 50s in Australia. So I think they're up to 1,800 and something, number 1,800 of The Phantom.
Mm-hmm.
So they haven't done a little soft relaunch. They haven't jumped back to number one yet.
They haven't learned that trick yet?
No. I think they're just getting closer to 2,000.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, that was in some Sunday newspapers, the weekly strip, but it wasn't the one we got, so I was familiar with it. Marvel is doing this thing. I don't know if DC is doing this too, but they call it legacy numbering, where if there are series that have stopped or have big gaps and then they start with a number one, at the bottom of the corner box they'll usually put like LGY number whatever.
Oh, so technically 600, but
right. So if you add everything up, they do it for all the other ones, but I don't think they've done it for the Star Wars ones yet.
Well, which I guess there aren't that. What are they? 3? How far in are they? 3 years? 4 years? Force Awakens. I'm just trying to think.
They started in January of 2015. So the Star Wars line, it would either be 77 because it stopped at 75 and they just put out issue 2, or if you count the original Marvel series back from the 70s and 80s, it would be 108 plus 75 plus 2. So 187.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
The numbers, man.
I am not good with math. But thank you.
Me either. That Vader comic, now, let's spoil it, because if you haven't read you haven't read it, I know you do comics with Steel, but I read it and I was so glad that you were coming on.
I just want to say, please, Steel, don't hate me.
Yeah. He doesn't. Listen. He probably doesn't listen. Anyway. Although if you're on, he might chip in. If I find out that he's talking, you guys find out King Tom's talking comics. Now, basically, they're at the Empire Strikes Back period now. So we're sort of following Vader. He chops Luke's hand off. He gets on his Star Destroyer. He's seething, and he decides to go on a little hunt find out where this Luke Skywalker has been hiding all this time, which takes him to the Lars farm. Now, before we go any further on that, there's a bit of a showdown there, isn't there? Like all these ships start crashing to the ground and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you think about that?
I guess
that like when Rey gets there, the place is pretty clean.
You mean picked clean?
Well, I don't know. Well, maybe picked clean.
I would think that, judging by Jawa activity on Tatooine and Sand People, that, yeah, despite the fact there are probably 2 charred bodies out front wasting away in the wind, I don't think that would stop people from going in and taking...
That's good eating, right there.
Yeah,
the Jawa shadow went, ooh, tasty. That looks good.
You know, they have a speeder in there. They have the oil bath. They have all those weird machines in the garage. They have the bok choy cooker.
I think they just got looted pretty quickly.
Probably.
Yeah, very true.
We didn't see what Rey went through at the end of Rise of Skywalker.
That's true. So basically, he leaves. He has a bit of a showdown with some bandits, and then he goes to Coruscant and goes to Padme's apartment, which has got this bizarre statue of her face on the front. Did you think that was the weirdest thing?
I didn't know what to think of that. I'm like, is that supposed to... First of all, because it's a comic, I didn't know if it was supposed to be Padme. I'm like, maybe this is supposed to be Padme. Maybe it could be Sheev.
Yeah.
Like a little beautied up. But no, it was Padme.
So then Vader breaks into the house, has a bit of a snoopy around, and he's interrupted by Tom.
It looks like Padme, but my guess it is whatever handmaiden survived from Queen's Shadow.
Ah. So someone's just living in her flat now. She's got the keys and living rent-free.
Yeah, pretty much. Hey, she's able to fool the security scans with the facial recognition.
Oh, yeah. Do they ever go into that? They're saying that, does she ever sort of get, is she like, have you ever seen that movie where, who was the guy who played young Tony Stark? Dominic, not Tony Stark, young Tony Stark's father, sorry, in Captain America. What was his name? Anyway, the guy who played him, I can't remember the actor's name, but he played a movie where he played Uday Hussein. He was an Uday Hussein impersonator. Have you ever seen that film?
Wow, I have not seen that.
There's a film where he plays. It's got the double or something where he looks a bit like Uday Hussein and he gets hired to be his double, and then of course I think something happens to Uday and they get mixed up, and then the power goes to his head and he basically starts acting like Uday. There's a whole bit where he kind of looks a bit like him. They go, okay, he's going to have some surgery on his face. He's going to have to do this and do this. Do you think Padme is just rounding up local girls and getting them to get a little bit of facial work done to look like Natalie Portman?
Well, have you ever read the Queen's Shadow?
No.
Okay, that goes into how she has this whole group of handmaidens, and the function of them is to serve the queen in every way, from security to making her up and helping her get dressed, and even her elaborate costumes have quick change apparatus,
like Velcro at the back kind of thing, so she can just get in and out, do a quick change.
Yeah, so she can slip out of one, and a handmaid, and they are trained to be her, to think like her, to speak like her, and it's it did a good job of adding to the Phantom Menace. This book did. And at the end, there is one of the handmaidens who survives, and because the whole book takes place between episodes 1 and 2, but the epilogue takes place after Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
And Bail Organa in the book was one of the people to figure out that Padme and her handmaidens were playing the shell game.
Yep. Yep.
So she reaches out to him and helps start the alliance, the one that survives.
Yep.
So my guess is that this is the one that survived from the book.
Right. Everyone knows she's dead. Of course, she has that big public funeral and stuff. So it's not as if, they just think she went missing or anything like that. But
I mean, right. They sealed off her house and put a big face there.
Yeah. I mean, they all knew that she was pregnant and stuff as well. Nobody asks too many questions, these handmaidens, do they really? They just sort of...
No.
It's a little bit...
It's like nobody remembers a droid. Or...
No.
Yeah, that's from one of the other Star Wars book that no one pays attention to droids. So.
Yeah. Well, they're just like toasters, aren't they? More animated toasters.
Pretty.
Yeah. Well, I found it a pretty interesting read. I was like, oh, all right, what are we doing here? I thought maybe it was a vision or something like that. I didn't think there would be some sort of shoehorning Padme, she dusted herself off and came back and she's like, yeah, what, you think I died of a broken heart? Like, duh, like who would be dumb enough to fall for that? Like, as soon as I saw you burned to death, I got out of there.
That would be an interesting twist.
Although it would be, it would probably negate all the films. I mean, I don't think they're that bold, are they? Retconning that she's been in the background the whole time.
Yeah, that
somehow Padme returned.
Yes. Oh my god. Sith magic and
dark alchemy, cloning and alchemy, and dogs and cats living together.
But she never reached out to her kids.
No.
Worst mother ever.
Not even a card or anything. I mean, she would have been... how old would she have been in Rise of Skywalker? Leia's 60. She would have been 80, 85. Probably was she 25, Revenge of the Sith, roughly?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's probably it.
Probably, yep.
So
could have pulled it off. Put Natalie in some makeup. She could have...
She could have come out on that big celebration.
Yeah, they just wheel her out. She's just like, I'm so happy.
with the big electric ball from
she's like,
the end of the Phantom Menace.
Yeah. It would have been great if they talked about sort of going, Rise of Skywalker, it's going to tie everything back in. If the electric ball had been the MacGuffin the whole time, like the MacGuffin of Rise of Skywalker was the electric ball. That that was where where Palpatine kept all these secrets, or hiding in plain sight. I mean, I would have liked that.
I think that was in the other Trevorrow script that got canned.
Now, have you read the Trevorrow scripts? I have not read them. Have you done? Have you dusted them off? And
I watched the two podcasts that the two people who had early access to the scripts produced.
Mm-hmm.
They came out probably early January, was it?
Yep.
So I watched those, and I read Jason Ward for Making Star Wars, his summary of the final version of the Trevorrow script.
Yep.
Then over the weekend, I guess the first draft that the two gentlemen who had podcasts, the one they reviewed, that was released. I downloaded it and I skimmed through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not impressed. I think it should have given a co-writing credit to George Lucas, because while I understand that certain phrases and lines are reused from movies to movies, from movie to movie, this made a point of shoehorning in phrases from the original trilogy wherever it could.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
He's leaking these, isn't he? Like, is there any doubt that it's him?
In my mind, no doubt at all. He's been very salty about Star Wars ever since he was let go.
Yep.
And the guy I think his name is Robert Meyer Burnett. He is the Star Trek version of Kyle Newman.
Yep, gotcha.
In that he directed the fanboys for Star Trek.
Yep.
And he's done some other production work. He is a very old school fan. Like, he prefers the original trilogy. So I watched his first podcast when he said, I might have a copy of the script, I might not. And then he gives it details. And he goes, he starts off the podcast by saying how much he likes Trevorrow and admires Trevorrow. Mm-hmm. And then after that, well, he's not a fan of JJ. And then he reads, he summarizes the script And in reading the script this weekend, I noticed that Trevorrow used a lot of exposition in addition to dialogue, more so than a Star Wars movie. Like if you look at the scripts that George wrote that are published, it has some exposition, but not a lot.
Yep.
As in, two guys are sitting across the world from each other podcasting, is what George would say.
Yep.
While Trevorrow's would say, these two idiots met at Celebration and have podcasted before. And one also does a Peppa Pig podcast. The other has, writes in and he just goes on and on. Right. And then the dialogue happens.
Right.
So
it's a slog to read.
Yes, it is. But Burnett had even more explanation than is in the script. So I think someone talked him through it.
Right. So he got to sit down on the couch and do the pitch, like he did the John Peters put the screen up to his face kind of thing while Trevorrow was telling him the story and putting a little mayo on it, so to speak.
Yeah, and like both he and there was another person who reviewed it, air quotes, reviewed it a few days later, who I don't want to say red letter media, but he's from one of those types of outlets. Mm-hmm. And he also, this is much better than anything JJ had and this and that. And both of them gave effusive praise to the Vader-Kylo duel. Right. Because in the middle, Kylo meets this 7,000-year-old Sith master who trained Darth Sidious, who, said, oh, there's only going to be two. We never heard of this 7,000-year-old guy.
Yep.
But then Kylo goes in and he has his own version of the Dagobah Cave where he duels a version of Darth Vader. And the script Trevorrow's script, it's a very quick duel. It's just over. But both of these people were like, oh, this duel was epic. It would have been the best thing in the movie. And this, to see Kylo Ren and Darth Vader. And they kept on going on and on about it. So I'm like, how do you get all that from...
Yeah, unless he's going like, then they're going to jump on a thing and then Vader's going to fly across the room. And then, yeah. There's no Ben Demption in those scripts, are there? He's kind of bad all the way through, isn't he?
Yes, and I was very confused because I did read through the final pages, and it's like the turn is he's fighting Rey, and Rey has been blinded, but Rey is one with the Force, and he raises his lightsaber, and if my interpretation of the script is correct, he has like a quick vision of his mother. And then he gives up, and
Rey chops his head off.
Dies.
Right?
No, Rey didn't do anything. It's just snap over like that.
Ah.
And then Rey is at the brink of death, and she sees Obi-Wan, Luke, and Yoda, and they're like, "You taught us so much. You can come live with us in one with the Force, or you can be among the living and experience love and pain." And she's like, "I want to live." And then she goes and. It has some interesting ideas.
It sounds like a bit of a cop-out just to keep Ben bad all the time and then not really find a way to resolve his arc.
Yeah.
It's easy just to... If he's just bad and he's just an obstacle that you beat, then, yeah. It just seems a little bit
right, it was like a video game.
He was like the final boss.
Yes. He was the final boss who just kind of... at the end.
It's like that when you play a video game sometimes and you slog through it and you get to the final boss and you beat them really easily. You're like, oh, I kind of thought that would be harder. Oh, and that's the end of the game.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like I said, there are some interesting parts. Rose had a bigger part, which I liked. But then at the same time, she's talking about hyperspace and repeats verbatim Han's, we could bounce too close to a supernova, all the stuff he tells Luke in the Millennium Falcon cockpit in A New Hope.
Oh, right. That's so weird.
Yeah.
So is it a sackable script?
How do you mean?
Oh, sackable. So you probably not. Oh, sorry. You probably know. This is probably Australian colloquialism. If you get the sack in Australia, you get fired. So if I told you to say, "Hey Tom, I got the sack today," it's basically like you got given a sack to put all your stuff in to go home because you're not coming back anymore.
Okay.
So is it a fireable script?
I wouldn't say it's fireable. If I was Kathleen Kennedy and this is what he turned in as his first draft, whatever I gave back to him would have had a lot of red in it.
Yep.
And I think there were some interesting ideas there. But a lot of it was borrowed or homages. And I know Star Wars is all about the homages. Star Wars is all about borrowing and recycling the past. But this was even more so. And it didn't feel like it ended the saga.
Yep.
Which I think is what... I don't know if he realized that, but just this whole idea of bringing in this 7,000-year-old Sith Master no one ever knew of before, and the power that Kylo was after was this power to drain the Force from people.
Right.
To basically turn himself into a Force vampire.
Okay.
Which it is kind of what Sheev does in The Rise of Skywalker, but he is drawing on them because they are a dyad in the Force.
Yep.
This is what in Trevorrow's script it was, I'm going to steal the Force from every living thing and become the most...
Does he become like
powerful,
the Super Shredder at the end of Secret of the Ooze or something like that? Like he's just like all muscular, right, with a Kylo helmet on.
Right. So obviously Kathy told him no, and they lost Carrie Fisher, which probably was an obstacle. And then according to Jason, they removed the 7,000-year-old Sith Master, and instead there was a female head Knight of Ren. And she and Kylo together fought Rey at the end. But there was still the Force vampirism, and then at that point, he was sacked.
Yeah. So he's like, you're not quite getting this.
Right.
Colin.
I think that's the thing. I think he like you said, he didn't get it. I think he thought it was a video game. For a video game, it's a good video game.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, release dates are release dates. She could have easily just gone, hey, we could go through this 4 more times, but it's going to be, December next year. We're going to have a year to knock this thing out. We can't just, I can't let you film this, and I don't think I can. How many of these things you're going to churn out and keep changing and stuff. So I can certainly see why they went back to the safe pair of hands. Now, how was your Rise of Skywalker? I know you've been on lots of other podcasts. You've probably spoken about this before and stuff. Anyway, the rundown. I mean, when you were last on, you were just about to get your tickets or had just got your tickets. Yeah. Did it all kind of roll out as planned?
Yeah, it did. I got my tickets for my group. One of my friends couldn't make it. She had a death in the family.
Oh, that's a shame.
But she ended up we went Saturday, and she came with us Saturday. So, my group, except for that, my group made it. My daughter went to both showings opening night with me, and she has wanted to see it with me every time I've seen it. But there were a few times I haven't taken her.
Don't tell her. She won't. How old is she?
She knows, and she's 9.
Okay. Yep. That's the dream.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, I like to go. Some nights I'll try and go to a late show after the kids are to bed. My local theater, for some reason, they are not. This year, they have started this thing where they don't start any screenings of any movie after 9:00 on a weekday night.
Oh, okay.
So that's I'm at 12 now.
Wow.
I think. Yeah.
And it's still showing?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping it takes one more week because next Monday is President's Day, a holiday here. And I have off, the kids have off, my wife has to work, so if it's still showing, I'll take them during the day.
Lucky 13.
Yep, lucky 13.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much done here. I think it maybe some cinemas have got one showing in the day, and we went with some friends last week. The big art house cinema had it on their huge big screen, old school screen and stuff, and we saw it a couple of weeks ago, which was really good. And that'll probably be the last time, I think. I mean, it'll be on digital by May, probably.
It should be end of March, I think.
Oh, really? That soon?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the other ones were.
Okay. Well, then even less time to wait on that then. That's a bonus. I just before we started talking, Tom, I just got home. I just saw Birds of Prey this morning because it's daytime.
Oh, how was that?
I really enjoyed it. I hated Suicide Squad, so I was a little bit trepidatious, but I thought that Harley Quinn was the best thing in it, like most people did. And it was good. It was a lot more violent and a lot more swearing in it than I thought. I didn't realize it was an R-rated film. Yeah,
that's. I was considering taking my daughter to see it. Maybe she's not familiar with DC, but not.
Yeah, I think that might be a little bit of a stretch too far, but no, it was good. It was enjoyable. Some of the action was really cool. Some of it was pretty brutal, and some good laughs and stuff. But Ewan McGregor, bringing a big old truckload of ham along.
Well, I think an actor like him would enjoy something like that.
He was clearly enjoying himself. And there were a couple of times in it where, he's just sort of, woo, is everyone having a great time? And then he sort of flipped and he became quite, there was a couple of scenes where he was quite like, menacing. He wasn't just all sort of, hamming it up all the time. There was some proper menace there. So, yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, he got stuck on that press tour talking about Obi-Wan again, so I'm sure that he must have been really thrilled about that. When that also...
Yeah, I think...
Oh, you go, man.
I think he would have been fine with the original scripts if that meant he didn't have to talk about Obi-Wan.
Exactly. I know.
Couldn't you have waited a week or two?
Yeah, I'm out. It was just that whole thing was just so weird that it was, it was supposedly this huge rumor that it was done and that was debunked. And then there was actually a little bit of, truth to the fire, unless it was just an amazing coincidence.
Yeah, I love Kathleen Kennedy, and I think she's doing a great job at Lucasfilm. She's had a few bumps along the road. I do wish some of these production things
just went smooth.
Wish it was a bit more smooth. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wish they weren't afraid to announce things too. But I think it's kind of, if you announce, then you're going to have production issues.
Yeah. But if you don't announce and then try to keep it secret, then someone else gets it out and then you've lost control of the narrative to a point, and then it's why they're being so secret. What are they hiding? We don't know what's going on. It's a bit of a machine. Now, were you on Bob Iger's call? You're a Disney shareholder, aren't you, Tom?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're not?
No, I'm not.
For some reason, I thought you had like one share or something like that, so you could listen. You got the letter.
I think Dallas Wood does.
Ah,
yeah. I think
secret portfolio.
He does. Right, but the shareholders calls, those are open to the public.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah. And so they usually happen like maybe around 4:30. Or 5 o'clock. It's near the end of my work day. I have to work till 6, so I'll just pop it on instead of a podcast.
We're just like, we've got a question from our buddy King Tom at the shareholders meeting. You're like, hi Bob Iger, here's what I've been thinking.
What? Yeah, here's what I've been thinking. What's the next Star Wars movie?
Yeah.
No, the questions they take are all from financial types. Because there's like so and so with this bank. It's like, but they do ask for the most, like they'll start off with the financial statement or like the Q2 earnings this year were down per share. Do you think that the performance of Avengers Infinity War has anything to do with this? And what's next for the Avengers, by the way? So they'll like address it in a financial term and then kind of bring it back.
What's Hawkeye up to? Is it?
Yeah. Right. Did you cancel Moon Knight?
I do like that. Everyone's got a little bit of a piece in the pie. But it does look like that Cassian's still happening. I mean, that doesn't seem to have it doesn't seem to carry the rumor thing as much as the Obi-Wan thing. I think just because everyone's been obsessing about the Obi-Wan thing for so long.
Right. I think the official news we've gotten on the Cassian series has been a lot less than official news on these other projects. Because I know there's a lot of rumors about who's going to be in the Cassian.
Was there a George Lucas one the other day that I scrolled past very quickly?
Oh my! There were two. One was that George Lucas is going to be working on Cassian. The other was that they're going to be having a lead female role, and the character's name is Luna.
Okay. Which
is also the last name of the star of the series.
Oh, right. Of course.
So I'm reading this story, and I'm like, no, this is... go back and try again.
Yeah, someone read Luna, like, oh, Luna's coming in.
I think that, you know what? Maybe I think that might be what happened.
There was like a chair, like those little direct Hollywood chairs, and it's got Luna written on the back of it.
Yeah.
Someone spied that. Oh man.
Yeah, that's got to be it. That's got to be it. But no, Iger said that was still happening. That they are eyeing other spin-offs they can make out of the Mandalorian, and that for the next few years, probably at least 2 years, their focus is going to be on material for Disney Plus. And I don't know if he meant like in public production or behind the scenes production, but that cinematic production will be kind of taking a hiatus for a little bit.
Right.
Which makes sense. The thing is, though, that I found interesting during the first part of the call, they go through the quarter, so the 3 months ending December. And, of course, Disney had a great quarter. And one of the reasons why, he said, was because of the Rise of Skywalker.
Yep.
And it was the same thing 2 years ago this time last year, when they were talking about the year ending December 2018, Bob Iger said the reason that 2018 was not as good as 2017 was because they had a Star Wars in 2017.
Yep.
So this is multiple times now that Disney has said, well, Star Wars has made, and not just the movie, but the products and merchandise too. Star Wars has made this has helped this company's profits. So to the people who count, that is the people who own shares, the people who watch the money.
Dallas.
Dallas Wood, talking to you. This is something good. And never mind the fact that one of the people responsible for a highly successful Star Wars movie was just nominated for a number of Academy Awards and wore Porg lapel pins with his tuxedo.
Yeah.
I'm feeling very good about the chances of I don't think it will be the next one, but I'm feeling very good about the chances of another Rian Johnson story.
Well, I just saw a little video just before we started talking, and he was being interviewed at the Oscars or just after the Oscars, and they were talking about the sequel to Knives Out, which I haven't seen, but hopefully I'm going to watch tonight, actually.
It's very good.
I'm really.
Let me know what you think of it.
Yeah, I will. And he, of course, it comes up to Rise of Skywalker, and he was really sort of like, I had a great time. I was happy to see all my friends in it. It was emotional for me because I'm part of that story, and couldn't have given a better response, really, could he? Really?
Right. That I think that was that the MTV clip, because I think I saw that, and it's similar to what I heard, but then the interviewer. They probably. I hope he asks the next logical follow-up, but it cut off after there. And the next logical follow-up is, so when's your Star Wars movie coming out?
But he's always like, we'll see. I don't know. I'm waiting. Yeah. And I think we've had this. I think even when you might have been you were on last time, Tom, or we talked about, or maybe it was just online that. When he was kind of like, I hope someone's like, what's going with Star Wars? It's like, I hope so. I hope it's happening. That he's not the guy who's like. Shut up! It's going to happen. I'm the man. He's just very like, oh yeah, we'll get there. Right. Things happen. These things take time.
Well, I think the thing is, I think you're absolutely right, and I've had this conversation with our friend Luke Cruiser, where with a situation like that, it's not. If I'm the guest on your podcast, I'm not going to go out and tell people, oh, I'm going to be on Star Wars Spelt Out.
You can if you like, but
but I'm not rude. I don't want to go say I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing this. Rian Johnson, he's an employee he knows he's an employee of Disney Lucasfilm. You want to let them be the ones to say, this is what's going on.
Yeah, and if he comes out...
At least at first.
Yeah, and if he comes out... The problem is that if he answers more definitively, all it does is create more questions. If he comes out and says, yep, I'm doing Star Wars, then I go, when? What is it? When's it happening? What are you doing? Then he just says, well, I can't tell you anything. I can either, break my confidentiality, or I can't tell you anything anyway. So all he can say is like, well, we're working on it. We're still talking. It's just, hopefully we'll get there when we get there.
Right. And he's probably going to be doing this this Knives Out too. Knives Back In. I don't know. Forks Out. He's probably going to be doing that sequel first, which is fine. He did Knives Out in 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's on a roll. Why not? I think it'll be good to maybe keep Rian Johnson in the back pocket as well. That if they, they've got to restart this thing. If this High Republic is the thing that's happening, I thought that they were supposedly announcing something in January, but apparently that's been pushed back now. What it's going to be?
I don't know. Looking back on it, I don't know where that announcement thing came from. I think we all expected it.
Right.
But I think it was just a bunch of sources saying, well, Lucasfilm is going to announce that, but they never said anything. But now they've said, I think it's in 2 weeks, maybe?
Wow.
22nd? Does that sound right?
I should have had you on in 2 weeks rather than now, but anyway. Where will I be able to hear your opinion, Tom? If only you were on other podcasts about this. Yeah. Well, movies take 2 to 3 years to make anyway, so they've got to start rolling the ball on this thing. But it's a risk. It's going to be, it's not going to lean on original characters or even the new characters. It's going to be a whole new cell that, if it doesn't go to plan as well as they want, they pull out Rian Johnson. Very popular for some, not so popular for others. But I think it's a good ace to keep up your sleeve, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't exactly know, because what I've heard is that the High Republic stuff is spinning out of what they were going to have the Game of Thrones guys work on.
Right.
So I think Rian Johnson is going to be doing something totally separate.
Yeah, I think so. I think originally he just said, I had an idea of what would be good for Star Wars, I think while he was doing Episode 8, and said, hey, I think this would be great. And they went, oh, cool, well, let's lock you in for that because we're very happy how things are going. And it's just his own thing, so we know nothing. It's all in his head. I suppose only him and a few people would even know what it's about.
Right. And I'm sure, if they said, can you make us something about the High Republic, I am sure he would happily do it. I don't think he would say no to that. But at the same time, I think they want to treat this as a literary, as a kind of Shadows of the Empire type project.
Yep. And if Rian Johnson's got an idea, I think they're best to let him do exactly what he wants. Rather than going, hey, would you come in and save this other thing that was for someone else? We know you've got the chops to direct, but would you rather be able to create a story from start to finish as well, or at least pan it out and do this? And yeah, I think that's of all the criticisms that the sequel trilogy gets one way or the other, but obviously sort of tossing the story hot potato around, amongst not so much, well, a lot of different writers, JJ. And I was actually a little surprised that they didn't bring Larry Kasdan back. You think he got burnt on Solo? He didn't want to come back for Rise of Skywalker?
I that's what I think happened. I think, this has been a very intense 5 for us fans, but how long has Daisy Ridley been working on Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver? It's 6 or 7 years. And I think, if anything, he just needed back in the original trilogy days, he only came back to do Return of the Jedi because George said he would produce a movie that he directed.
Yep.
That Kasdan directed. He would give Kasdan that shot at directing. So doing Force Awakens and then Solo, I think he wants to do other things. What those other things are, I don't know, because I haven't really seen his name in many places.
There was some tweet that his son did the other day. Someone was saying about, hey, when you should do something with Ron Howard again soon. And he was like, oh, yes, or you're right, or we should, or we are, or... was that... You reckon that's Willow related?
I think so. And isn't that going to be on Disney Plus?
That's what I heard. Yeah. I'd have to go back and rewatch it. I haven't watched it in years. I've got Disney Plus. It's just in the other room. So, are you still getting mileage out of it?
I am. Yeah, I'll watch some of the Marvel stuff.
I suppose you got a 9-year-old. They got a 9-year-old.
Yeah, both my kids watch it too.
Yeah. So my 4-year-old loves it. So she's really into the Mickey Mouse Club stuff and Mickey Mouse's races or something like that. For some reason, Mickey Mouse is racing cars with his mates down the street every week, and I don't know if you've ever seen that before. But
is that the Clubhouse show with all the friends?
There's that one, and then there's also Mickey's like wacky races, and they're basically the same animation style. I think it's slightly newer, so it's a little bit better. But they've all got racing teams, and they're always racing cars. And the first, I'd check in and out, but initially they were sort of racing around their town. Then all of a sudden they're racing in the international stereotypes tracks. They'll go to Italy, and it's like, look out for the pizza, or there's yeah. So she enjoys it. It's good fun.
Yeah, that Clubhouse show, for some reason, whenever we go to the Children's Hospital, that's always on, and I do not like that show because they cannot solve a problem without calling on Toodles.
Toodles!
Yeah, I hate that show. But no, we still we have not gone to that sector of Disney Plus yet, but we still watch it, and I see people, every now and then I'll see someone, I canceled Disney Plus last week. I'm like, why? There's nothing else on there that you get any enjoyment out of.
I find it sort of my Netflix. I'm just always on the hunt. Disney Plus, I'm like right away. I've got 5 things that I could just jump on, and I could just easily sit back and watch it.
We still subscribe, but personally, I don't think I've watched anything on Netflix in 3 months.
What did we? Oh no, my partner Kat, she watches a few things. I was recording Peppa Pig with Matt last night, and she was watching Sex Education. And I walked in halfway through that, and I was like, oh, okay, this is what goes on in our house when I'm in the other room doing Peppa Pig podcasts and things. Where did you land with Resistance at the end? Did you feel like it needed a little more?
I am a bad fan. I have not finished the season of Resistance yet.
I'm surprised.
We don't have cable, and
me either.
For Resistance, what I did for season 1, same thing I did for Rebels. I purchased the season on Google Play. Mm-hmm. But for season 2 of Resistance, it was not available as a whole season, and the individual episodes weren't on sale until like a month after, and then it was only the first 3 episodes.
Ugh.
Yeah, so I'm still.
I think it's on Disney Plus. I think in a few weeks anyway, isn't it? I think the whole.
Yeah.
I think you can hold out.
Yeah.
Well, I said that they might drop that at the same time as Clone Wars, then roughly. So it'll all sort of.
Probably, yeah.
Everybody can get their fix. Yeah, I've attempted once or twice to sort of go back and get through Clone Wars, but I keep forgetting how much there is of it and how little time I have to watch it. And I'm like, I'll do the chronological thing before this starts. So there's just no way. I mean, I'll pick it up, but it shouldn't be too complicated to pick up.
I did a Rebels rewatch, and it took me like 2.5 months. So Clone Wars would take a little bit longer than that, I think.
Do you?
And
you go, man.
I think Rebels. I was gonna say, I think for me, Rebels is a lot more accessible than the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I find myself, I don't know, with Clone Wars, I find myself tuning out a little bit every now and then. I get sort of distracted and things, especially after you sort of watch a couple of them. It's sort of a lot of the, yeah.
Yeah, so, same with, like, I like it as a show, and it's Star Wars, so of course I'll watch it, and 9 times out of 10, I'll enjoy it. But it's just, like you, sometimes I just tune out during it.
Yeah, I'll be happy to jump on and see what they do, but again, it wasn't. I'm glad that people have it and they're pumped, and that's their Star Wars, and everyone's got their way in and stuff. But I'll just I'll watch it and go, oh, okay, that's cool, and move on.
Like you said, I know people who that is the big thing in their Star Wars. That's why they're fans, and I respect the hell out of that, and I want them to have something that they enjoy that much, and I'm glad they do. It's just, I'll watch it and I'll enjoy it, but it's.
Yeah,
and I'm glad we're getting it, but it's not my big thing.
Yeah. Now let's just double back around onto Rise of Skywalker. Before we getting slightly towards the end of this. We're not quite done yet. But what are you seeing on a 12th viewing that you're not seeing on a first viewing? Like, what are you just taking the movie in? Does it feel like part of the furniture now, or does it still feel like a new movie after that many watches?
A little bit of both. The first time I saw it, I was confused. I definitely felt the pacing complaints that a lot of people have. Mm-hmm. And I had, after my first viewing, first view, I had three major problems with the movie. I liked it a lot, and I did see it as a good ending to the story, but I had three problems with the story that was told.
Hit me.
Okay. I wasn't a fan of Rey being a Palpatine. Mm-hmm. It didn't ruin the movie for me. I didn't see it as a betrayal of anything that we've gotten in the past. I just didn't need it.
No, you could have easily have just cut those lines out, and that would have worked just as fine.
Exactly. More Rose.
Yes.
I think she should have had a bigger part, and I wanted Finn and Poe to be a couple.
Yep.
I just thought they had, their chemistry was great, the way they were throughout every chapter of this story, and I love all the characters we've gotten with this sequel trilogy, and it just would have been a cool, interesting development to see them together. And I have smaller complaints, like I would have liked more cameos or vocal cameos during the big battle at the end.
I would have an All Wings report in. I really would have liked that.
Yeah.
Lando could have got a ha-ha, but he could have, done an All Wings report in, and you could have, give me some cuts to some people inside ships and stuff, or even the voices. Like they did the Jedi voices. You could have just had a Harrison Dula, standing by, or it would have been. You could easily have done those off mic. I mean, those three complaints that you made, like I said, they could have easily been done in reshoots or cuts and stuff. It wouldn't have been a massive shift to do. I mean, making movies is hard. We all know that. So they're probably just relieved that they got it out when they did. Really.
I think that's a big part of it. I'm sure, if they had the say, and I don't think Disney is like George in this regard at all, although they want to make money, so you don't know, but if there was a special edition coming out in 10, 15 years, I think this would totally be on the board. I think they would be calling in all these voice actors. Can you record a little line for the special edition of Rise of Skywalker? But by time number 12, I'm a lot better I'm more settled with these things. I can accept Rey being a Palpatine, even though I ignore it. I do want more Rose. I do want those cameos, but I'm also very grateful for what we have. The pacing doesn't bother me like it used to. And there was one other thing that I forgot. But I could see the story more. I could see how it relates to everything else. I have different questions about different things.
Mm. Rey being a Palpatine, she, for her story going forward, she's probably got some sweet real estate coming her way, if nothing else.
Well, either that or bills for blowing up planets from the Death Star, first and second Death Star. Well, not second Death Star, but
that almost feels like another kind of secret you keep to yourself that might ruin your life kind of thing. Does she actually... Hey, she doesn't actually tell anybody, does she, in the film? I mean, Kylo is the only one who knows. Does she tell Finn? No, she kind of hints at it to Finn, but doesn't actually tell him.
Yeah. Ghost Luke knows and Leia knew.
Yeah. Well, they can keep their mouths shut.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Maybe BB-8 knows.
Oh, yeah. Well, he seems to know everything that's going on. Like, you wouldn't want someone like 3PO finding out.
No. All of the stormtroopers who were in that docking bay know.
Oh, yeah. They were like, did he just say that she's a Palpatine?
Yeah. But they're probably dead now, so they don't count.
Yeah, they're probably all dead now. I was watching Tally the other night and just flicking between channels. And on commercial television, I'm not normally on there, and then I stumbled upon Force Awakens. I was just sort of flicking out. I was like, "Oh crap, Force Awakens is on!" It was right at the escape from Naboo. They basically just hijack the Falcon and away they go. And geez, I absolutely
Jakku?
Yeah, Jakku. Yeah,
Oh, I thought you said Naboo.
No. Oh, maybe I did. We'll have to check the tape. I did mean Jakku. Yeah, that bit where they go to Naboo, remember? Okay. You didn't see the special edition?
Yeah.
Maybe that would have made more bloody sense.
Maybe.
Yeah, it was just funny how watchable that film is. I just... Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, they look young. Like, even Daisy Ridley looks young, like quite young in that film. They all look sort of so fresh-faced and young.
She does. And if you think about it, that movie was a miracle, the way it all came together and how it performed at the box office. And you could totally see why they gave JJ a second shot.
Oh, for sure. On paper, it made perfect sense. There was probably... I mean, it's hard to say the only person who could come in and save it. But as far as picking up something and running with it and knowing how it works and what it takes to make it and familiar with the characters and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think that was... I mean, if he had just said, "No, I'm not interested," I mean, who knows what would have happened? I think he has to get a lot of credit for that.
I think so.
I mean, maybe old reliable Ron Howard would have been busted out and to help out.
Was he doing Solo by that time, or was that later on?
Oh, there might have been a little bit of crossover. I feel like...
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. When did JJ get announced?
September of 2017.
And when did Solo...
But when
did Solo come out? 18.
Oh, yeah. So Ron Howard was already probably on by then. But they also needed to write, too. Because they didn't want to go with any of the Truffaut.
No, so that was the thing also, is that they didn't have... So... There wasn't... I mean, like you said, there's sometimes ideas carry over and cross over and stuff anyway, and I think, you know, they get a story credit just because if you say bloody Kylo Ren in one script, you've got to put Kylo Ren in the other one, but it didn't seem like that they'd lifted pretty much anything from those stories, though.
No, I think they were being nice. Apparently, JJ said we didn't look at that stuff at all. There is some similar... There are similar elements.
Yep.
But it could just be, you know, the logical conclusion of trying to wrap up a trilogy and a saga.
Yeah. I mean, there's always... I mean, everybody had their whole idea of what they thought things that would happen one way or another, where it would go. Right. And, you know, it was funny because it was just all that lead up, watching all those trailers and stuff, and it was quite common just going, I've got no idea what's going on in this movie. I've got no idea what the plan is and what they're actually trying to achieve in this film. So which I think, you know, was good because you didn't know going in, obviously, but at the same time made more to process because you kind of didn't. Although it would have been weird if you had a trailer where they were just like, we've got to go get a dagger and go do this and do that.
Well, the entire plot of the movie was on Reddit because I went in very unspoiled, which I think we talked about last time.
Yep.
But then after the movie came out, I went to Reddit and other places and read up on what people had. And there was a very detailed and very accurate summary that came out in either late August or early September.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I think it's a bad robot thing because the same amount of detail was out for The Force Awakens, but none of the other Disney Star Wars movies. So a lot of people knew what was going on.
Yeah, okay.
And was going to happen in this movie. And a lot of people were disappointed in it.
Earlier than other
and I don't
people.
know. Yeah. And I understand some people... I have some very good friends who did not like the movie. And I feel bad that they didn't like it. I'm not going to try and change their mind because of choices they made in the script, but then I know of some other people who did not get something they were really hoping for and didn't like it in a different way.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's a bit of there's sort of two distinct sort of approaches of what people, you know, some people who are disappointed for one reason or disappointed in other reasons, and it's right. Yeah, at the same time, lots of people, again, this is a point that comes up, a lot of casual fans or people who just sort of enjoy a Star Wars, who I've gone with, have all really enjoyed it and just went, oh yeah, that was good. Yep.
Yeah, I was talking over the weekend with one of my, he's a doctor, he's one of my daughter's surgeons, and he knows I'm a Star Wars fan, and he didn't like The Last Jedi because he's a little bit older than I am, but he had this image of Luke and Han and Leia in his head.
Yep.
And he did not get what he wanted. So he was disappointed with The Last Jedi from that standpoint. And he understood. He was fine with that. He wasn't mean to anybody about it. But he went and he saw The Rise of Skywalker and he loved it.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing a lot of that. And I don't think it's a case that Disney or JJ were catering to the wrong type of crowd. I think they were trying to make a Star Wars movie with broad appeal.
Yeah, and also, if you're wrapping this thing up, you've got to basically land characters for the most part in happy places, which can be more satisfying anyway. Like, you're not going to get a conflicted Luke at the end of episode 9, but you can have a conflicted Luke in 8 because he's got a journey to go on, to get to that point anyway. So in some respects, it can be, you're supposedly making the crowd pleaser. It's all about how you get there.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Love a good crowd pleaser. So before we wrap this up, Tom, what are you looking forward to most in this Star Wars year? Like, the celebration is coming up. There's obviously going to be no Obi-Wan panel, I don't think, unless they just show some sketches or something like that. Or is it sort of Mandalorian is your big thing this year?
Mandalorian, yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing what's up with that. This Project Luminous announcement that's coming out in a few weeks. I want, I'm a big fan of books and comic books. Mm-hmm. So I am definitely interested in seeing what that is all about. The two series they have going on right now, the Darth Vader one and the Star Wars mainline series, those are interesting. They're bringing back the Dr. Aphra comic in May, I believe. I'm a big fan of that series. Me too. There is Star Wars content there. It's not stuff that's going to be in the theaters this year, but there's still stuff to talk about, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to Celebration. We got a few things going on this summer, but Celebration is definitely a go for me. So
yeah, well, we'll be there too.
I can't wait for it.
I know it's going to be great.
Oh yeah,
getting to hang out again and be a little bit warmer this time, and
a little bit warmer, and that's going to be in the middle of your summer, right? Or the middle of your winter.
Yeah. Oh, it'll be towards it's August, isn't it? So is it July to August, or is it August to September? August to September, isn't it?
August to September.
Yeah, so it'll just be coming into our spring. So we'll just be coming out of.
Okay.
So it shouldn't be too bad. Our winters are pretty tame here by Chicago standards, anyway.
Yeah, I guess so.
As you could probably tell, we look like a bag of frozen peas on that Sunday when the snow came down. But oh look, Tom, absolute pleasure. We could talk for hours here, but as you know, we keep things pretty tight here. But we'll get you to pop in again later on in the year when some more sweet content comes out. So if people want to find you and listen to you and get some good King Tom action, where do they go?
Tom Chansky on Twitter, one word, and then I'm on the Sith List podcast every week, and then Patreon shows for Steel Wars, Blue Harvest, and The Bad Motivators. Do
you get a little slice of that Patreon stuff, or is it all done out of love?
It's all done out of love.
You're like a factory worker producing phones for your master overlords.
I wouldn't put it that. I just love talking Star Wars.
I can't talk. You're getting nothing for this too, either, apart from the love as well, mate. So
I didn't. Hey, I have a beanie.
Oh, that's true. And you'll get something else at Celebration when I figure out what it's going to be. Probably, I don't know. People want the beanies again, but it's going to be so hot. But we'll work it out. It'll come. Awesome. Well, you can find our stuff at StarWarsSpelledOut.com. Thanks everybody for listening and leaving reviews and so on and so forth. Keep that up. And thanks so much, mate.
Thank you for having me.
I'll see you soon.